Ito Deutsch, thank you, sir, for being part of the podcast. Life as we know it. I appreciate you coming in and chatting with me today.
Well, thanks for the invitation, Jerry.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right. So I kind of told you a little bit about kind of the way that this podcast works. So the first thing that I guess I think we should kind of start with is just your background, kind of how you grew up. How was life growing up for you?
Yeah, so originally from Laredo, Texas, border town life, which back then that's what life was. And until you leave the border, you don't realize what the rest of the world is all about. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, good, great family, 3 younger brothers, parents still alive, in the everyone in the family business, except for one brother who's an attorney.
And where do you fall in the chain?
I'm the oldest of 4 brothers.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it.
And then so my brother Lance, he is 18 months younger than me. He's actually running the Houston stores.
Okay.
My brother Rich, who is 4 years younger than me, he's an attorney in Houston. And then my youngest brother Tad, who is 8 years younger than me, is running the Laredo and El Paso operation.
Right, yeah. Tad's your baby bro.
The baby bro.
Yeah, cool.
But they all think they're the older brother. But
they're always just always
yeah.
Just
They're always
there's always
there's always that. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you all have stores all over the state of Texas. Top 10, right? Rolex dealers in the country. Would you say?
We're big. We're big. We're big. We're big. We're big. We're big. We're big.
You're being modest. Okay. So how did you guys open up that store? Like how did y'all get to be Rolex dealers? Coming from Laredo. Well, number one, were your parents from Laredo?
So for the history, let's go through the history. My grandfather, Aladar, from Hungary, which actually my real name is Aladar.
Yes.
Named after
are you the third, or are you just
Aladar?
Okay.
Aladar.
Okay.
He came from Hungary during World War I, and the ship landed in New Orleans from Europe, and they wouldn't allow any immigrants in. So the next closest port was Veracruz, Mexico. So they went to Veracruz and ended up, dumping all these poor Europeans that didn't speak the language, in Mexico. And so he worked his way up to the border to Nuevo Laredo, border of Laredo, Texas, and opened up a type of, a little knick-knack gift shop. And he had a lot of contacts still in Europe, and a couple of his friends were involved in the perfume business. So our first business was French. Our store was originally a French perfume store.
Really?
Yeah.
In Nuevo Laredo.
In Nuevo Laredo. And actually, if you go to our new store, and actually if you go to any of our stores now, we have all the old bottles from the
do you really?
Yeah, we have all the old bottles all around the store, which are actually from the original. They're all the sample bottles and test bottles.
Nice. And he kept them all.
And so we have hundreds of them, and so they're all over the different stores, which is cool. It's part of the history, makes it really cool.
Yeah.
And then little by little, as time went on, my grandfather got into the silver business because you had Tasco, which had the silver jewelry. So we were perfume and silver jewelry and Mexican knickknacks. And then eventually my dad my grandfather had gotten really sick, so my dad came in to help him. Right after my dad graduated from Trinity University.
In San Antonio?
In San Antonio.
Okay.
And he came in to help my grandfather, and that's where my dad ended up staying. And he was the one that little by little started into the, people were coming from, we had all the American tourists come to the store in Mexico, and we had a little workshop in the back, and he'd help, he had a little jeweler there would fix the jewelry, and little by little people started bringing in bigger and bigger pieces. And so, he just all of a sudden, got the idea, hey, maybe we can start producing our own jewelry. And so he got a couple of designers and built up the workshop. And we actually built up a nice sized workshop in Monterrey, Mexico. Wow. And we started producing our own jewelry.
Wow.
And so we were a perfume, silver shop, jewelry repair shop. And then we went into designing our own jewelry in Mexico, which back then was really cool because we were making these big, beautiful pieces with all these Mexican fire opals and
super authentic to the.
Yeah, if someone walks into my store with the piece we made,
you can tell.
I can tell immediately.
No way.
Yeah, and I get people that come in. We'll have older customers that come in, so I see it on them, and they'll say, "Oh, your grandfather made this for me, or your father made this for me."
Wow.
And then I'll see some younger people coming in, and they'll say, "Oh, my grandmother gave this to me, or my mother gave this to me," passing it down.
Wow.
So we've been in business for over 90 years now.
90 years.
Yeah.
And so when did you guys start the jewelry aspect of it? Built,
Well, so I would say back in 1984, myself and my brother Lance came into the business, which was still only Mexico. Mm-hmm. And so when we both came on, we really ramped it up, which we've been part of the business forever, because since we were little kids, we would always go, going into Mexico was no big deal back then. We would block off the bridge. Yeah, we'd go have dinner with my dad or lunch with my dad at the store, and on weekends when we got punished, we'd have to
manual labor,
clean up the store and take up all that. So we always had jewelry in our blood.
Yeah.
So we got into the business and just, it just, really took off, and it was great. And it wasn't until my brother Tad graduated from college and wanted to come to the business that my dad said, we need to look into expanding. Mm. And my uncle, my dad's brother, owned the Joe Brand stores.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so he had married Linda Brand, and so little by little he eventually took over the stores, and they were always called Joe Brand, so they stayed Joe Brand, but my uncle was running them. And that's why we had the store. That's why when we first opened the U.S., we were Joe Brand Fine Jewelry, and we were in the store in Laredo and in McAllen. That's where McAllen came about, was that we had both those stores.
Really?
Right.
Okay.
And then once we had established ourselves in the States, which was kind of funny because our store in Mexico catered to the U.S. tourists, and our stores on the U.S. border catered to the Mexican tourists. So I had to speak more Spanish on the U.S. side because the customers were all from Mexico, and on the Mexican side we spoke all English. Yeah, so it's funny. I mean, being on the border is just crazy that way.
Yeah, it's an interesting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say border towns are kind of some of the most interesting cities in America, because you have to kind of live in those areas to kind of really understand the culture and the way people work and the exchanges and things like that. And it's a really interesting blend of different cultures. You take a lot of the things that are important in the Mexican culture and it's brought here, but then you also have that American influence and it's here. So it's a really interesting vibe. Like if you're not really from a border town, you really don't understand it. But I think because you've got a store in El Paso, right, and you've got a store in Laredo, you can see some similarities, still some differences, right? But for the most part, you've got like common.
Yeah, and all our stores basically on the U.S. side catered to the Mexican customer, and that was always our big push because you always had always had the wealthy Mexicans coming in buying, and that's what made the borders the vibrant cities that they were, was everything that we had to do with Mexico. Mm-hmm. So and it's fun. I guess if you're not from the border and you're from different parts of the United States, you don't get it.
Right.
You have people saying, "Why should I speak another language? Why should I this? Why should I that?" And so it's kind of like the European mentality. If you're in Europe, everybody knows 3 or 4 languages.
Right, because and it's common.
And it's common because their countries are smaller than the state of Texas, and they're bordered by 3 or 4 different countries with different languages. So they speak all these different languages. And so from being on the border, everyone speaks English, everyone speaks Spanish, and it's great. And we mix it. We have our Spanglish, and when I lived in San Antonio, when I went to Trinity also.
Okay.
And all my friends, they go, all of a sudden I'd be saying something, and all of a sudden I'd throw in a Spanish word, and they go like, "What are you saying? What planet are you from?"
Right, yeah, you mix it up.
And then when they'd come to visit me, we'd go to they'd go, "Oh my God, we're going to." And back then, you needed me a passport. You didn't need a driver's license. You just
Right.
go over, right?
And just American citizen, yes, that's it.
And they would, we'd go into Mexico and go to the bars and the restaurants. And they were like, "Oh my God, what is this? This is amazing. This is great." So all of a sudden, every weekend, all my friends were saying, "Are we going to Laredo? Are we going to Laredo?" So it was fun. I think growing up on the border, people growing up on the border, if you take advantage of it, it's probably one of the greatest places in the United States to grow up.
I would agree with that. Growing up, and it's not like it is the way it is now, where there's so much that's happening there. There's been a lot of crime throughout the last several years where it's just not the same as it used to be. But even for me growing up, I think as a kid from the border, you grow up a lot faster in the adult way, where you can, if you wanted to have a drink or if you wanted to go out to a nightclub, you could do it at a very extremely young age, and it was cool, and you didn't have to spend a whole lot of money to have a good time.
And it was safe, you didn't, everybody took care of everybody. And it is sad because I'd say, what is it? It's already coming on 17 years that we actually had to close our stores in Mexico because of all the violence.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but by then the U.S. operations were doing well enough that it was a nice transition. So, thank God we did that, because at that point it'd be kind of like, now what are we going to do?
Yeah, you would have been SOL, right?
Yeah, trying to figure out how to reinvent yourself, and it was really hard for my dad because, I would tell him, it's right after I got married is when all the violence started, and I told my dad, I said, "Dad, I want to start a family. I just got married. I said, I am not interested in getting kidnapped or killed, over here, and we've got some good businesses that we can really build on." Mm-hmm. And, he was just like, "No, we're fine. So I stopped going, because I was helping him run the Mexico operation. Mm-hmm. And finally, about 4 months later, he realized
saw the light.
Well, it wasn't even that, the tourists weren't even coming over anymore.
Oh,
everybody was so scared. So,
it was that time.
Yeah.
It was a good transition.
Yeah. And it was a crazy transition, because going from, running a business in Mexico to running in the States was a totally different, for both of us, because just the way business was run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and it sounds like you've already done a lot of transitions: perfume shop to creating your own jewelry, and then you move into the States, transition, and then you start working in the States. Obviously, you branch out, right, into Deutsch & Deutsch from the Joe brand, and then what happens?
So what happens is we start wanting to carry all the bigger lines, Rolex, Cartier, Bulgari, and they basically were the ones that pushed us into saying, you need to be in your own stores, your own locations, not being a jewelry department inside of a store. Mm-hmm. And that's when the push for Deutsch & Deutsch started.
Got it.
And so we started the Deutsch & Deutsch in Laredo and McAllen, because that's where we had the Joe brand fine jewelry stores. And so started those up, did really well with them. Opportunity came for us to go into Houston, and which we never thought we'd ever leave the border.
Through Rolex.
Rolex had told us, they said, if, at the time, Zales operation went bankrupt.
Oh.
And so Rolex went into they went from having 20 locations in Houston down to 2.
Wow. So
they were looking for jewelers to fill those niches. Mm-hmm. And so they told us, if Rolex doesn't just give you the line, you have to prove yourself.
Right.
But they told us, if you'll move to Houston, if you'll open in Houston and you open up in this location, we'll give you the line.
Wow.
Which is the only reason we went to Houston, because for us, we were the little border boys. It's like, Houston, oh my God, that's
big. That's big city. That's big city shit right there.
Yeah, that's just that's like no, it's unbelievable. There's no way we're gonna do that.
Right.
And so that's how we got the start.
Wow.
Start over there.
Wow.
So
so Deutsch & Deutsch came from grandfather Deutsch to your father Deutsch. Is that where, because obviously you've got 4 brothers. Obviously you and Tad are kind of, and your brother Lance,
Yeah.
right? All kind of running.
Well, the store in Nuevo Laredo is called Deutsch's.
Okay.
And so just, I guess, to change it up a little bit, and to tell you the truth, I don't know where that
Where
came
it came
up.
from.
Maybe we were all drinking one night and said Deutsch and Deutsch, and so,
That's how it kind of
and
transpired.
that's where it went. From then on,
Okay.
that's where it's been. So, yeah, no, the Mexico store was funny. I mean, it used to be called Aladars, used to be called Deutsch's, used to be called Aladar Deutsch's, Perfumeria Deutsch,
All
just
kinds of
it
names.
was always changing, So, but yeah, no, so Deutsch and Deutsch is how we started it. So it worked out great. So,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said that your dad went to Trinity, and then you went to Trinity.
I went to Trinity. My brother Lance went to Trinity.
Oh, okay.
Then my brother Rich went to the University of Texas, and my brother Tad went to the University of Texas.
UT boys.
Yeah.
Okay. So, your dad went to school. Did he go for something else? And then you said that he came back to kind of help your grandfather. You went out and did stuff.
Yeah. So my dad actually, when he graduated, he had wanted to go into law school. And then my grandfather got sick, and it just kind of, that's where that, went from there. I actually was a stockbroker, graduated with a degree in finance, and started working for a small firm in San Antonio as a stockbroker.
Wow.
Then at the time, Laredo National Bank, which is now Compass Bank, the president of LNB was a good friend of the family, and they were starting up a big international program with all the maquiladoras. And so one day out of the blue, he just called me and said, we're starting up this program, and I think you would be great for it. And, it's really funny how you should never say never.
Right.
Right. Because number one, I swore I would never go back to Laredo.
Well,
And
after being in San Antonio and then you go back
yeah,
to Laredo,
yeah.
you're like,
I mean, when I left in high school, I'm like, I am never coming back to this place. And so here I am back in Laredo with a great job, traveling all over the world because we're trying to bring all the maquiladoras. So I got to travel everywhere. So it was amazing.
as
and
a
then-
young guy out of college.
Yeah, and it was me and another good friend of mine that I met through the bank, and I mean they had us traveling all over Mexico, all over Canada. They'd send us over to Europe to try to get all these maquilas to come in to Nuevo Laredo, because at the time Juarez was just killing it, and actually even Reynosa was and Matamoros were killing Laredo in that area.
Oh, really?
And so
in terms of the
in terms of
maquilas.
bringing the maquilas
Yeah.
in. Yeah, so we were trying to do a big push. So they had us everywhere trying to do it. So it was great. I was traveling on their dime.
So where'd you go? Like, where were some of the places you went?
Yeah, well,
That were like,
Yeah. So, I mean, we were, we'd go, we travel over the United States, We're all over trying to find all the big Fortune 500 companies, trying to convince them to come down to where we were at. We were traveling all over Canada, talking to them, trying to get them to come down. We were all over Mexico, because they'd have different conventions. So we were there trying
Trying to get
from
them
all, especially more the Japanese, going to Mexico, trying to figure out what was going on with the Maquila program.
Right.
So we were down all over Mexico, wherever they're having a convention, trying to promote Nuevo Laredo. So, I mean, it was just as a dream come true. And then then little by little, I decided that I wanted to go back into go back into finance, which is what I'd loved, and the markets, and I loved all of that. And so I'd actually gotten a job in Corpus with Merrill Lynch.
Nice.
And so I was cleaning out my office, and my dad called me one day, and my office was 3 blocks from the bridge to Nuevo Laredo. He says, "Come to the store, I want to talk to you." And I was like, "Okay."
Another out of the blue call?
Yeah, my dad, just out of the blue. And he says, "I want to talk to you." So I'm like, "Okay." So, didn't think anything about it, like everything, right?
Right. It's just your dad wanted
3 or 4 blocks, walked down the street, crossed the bridge, went to the store, talked to my dad, and he said, I've been doing this for however many years he'd been in the business at that time. And he says, I'm tired. And he goes, "It'd be a shame to let the business
go.
not continue." And he goes, I want you and I'd love for you and your brother to give it a shot. And so I was like, I told him, I said, Dad, I'm going to corporate. At the time, corporate was the big city.
Yeah.
I was like,
hey, corporate's not Selena back then. Right?
Hey, I was looking at a place on the beach. It was like, life was good,
Mm-hmm.
And so, and he told me, he says, look, I'll tell you what, give it 6 months. If you don't like it, I'll support you until you find another job. So it was a win-win.
That's cool.
So my brother Lance and I, we went in there and popped it open again, and we were running the store 7 days a week, and the next thing we knew, people were just showing up and showing up and showing up, and turned into a carnival. We had margarita machines running, we were selling jewelry, people were loving it, and it was fun, and revitalized. And then my dad was happy again, because it wasn't like he had to open every morning, close every night,
right?
Because he was a one-man show.
Yeah.
So now he had the opportunity to relax and take it easy.
Yeah, and I think, as a business owner, I'm sure a lot of business owners can relate, is like sometimes you just feel like you're just constantly having to pull the carriage behind you, and you're just kind of driving, and you get tired after a while.
I remember my dad, he'd wake up in the middle of the night, he would be sick as a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And 7 o'clock in the morning, he was heading to the store to open up, because that was it. It was him.
Right.
And actually him and my grandmother.
Oh, really?
And she
So
lived.
she was in it too?
She lived across the street, and he'd pick her up and take her to work every day.
That's cool.
And she was in the store with us till she was 90 years old.
Really?
So I actually have a picture of me, my dad, and me, Lance, my dad, and my grandmother in the store at the same time. So
Super cool.
three generations.
Do you have that framed up somewhere?
Yeah, I've got it at the store.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So now that you guys are going, you're talking about 7 days a week. That's a grind, right? And I think a lot of people, sometimes they see somebody who's been really successful, and they're like, man, it must be really nice. Person must be doing so well. It must be nice. But, there's a grind that happens from the time you start to to kind of currently where you're at, or where you strive to be. What was that grind for you? Like, what were some of those things where you were just like, man, like, I don't want to do this today? Or did you have a lot of those hurdles, or has it been?
Yeah, no, we, and my dad, we'd always seen it all our lives. He was our example. He worked until my brother Rich was born. My dad only took off Christmas Day, and he would take off 2 weeks in August, and that was it. He worked 7 days a week.
Wow.
And so that's why at dinner time, a lot of times my mom would make dinner and pack it up, and we'd go eat dinner with him at the store in Nuevo Laredo, because that's what he did. He that was his life, and that's what he did. So we always had that whole idea in our lives that that's what you do. And so when we came into the business, we knew it's like, okay, we're going to open this up. Every day of the week is a weekend. Mm-hmm. And so, that's just what you did.
Right.
And so we, between my brother and I and my dad, we were working 7 days a week, and it wasn't a grind, because we loved it. You met so many great people, so many amazing people. And that's the best part of it, because, we're already on 4th generation customers, because their grandparents and their parents and them, and now they're, it's, so, we have, it's amazing. It's amazing from a little store from Nuevo Laredo to know the people that we know.
Right. And to expand the way that you all have expanded, like all across Texas, for the most part, right? From the east side of Texas to the west side of Texas. Yeah. As far east and west as well, like Houston is pretty close. Yeah. Man, so yeah, that's quite the expansion.
Yeah. So, but I just, and I think if you're willing to put in the time and you're willing to put in the effort, I think everyone can be successful. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for me to say now, but a lot of people say like, oh, you're successful because you made a lot of money. And I think as you get older, you realize you're successful because you're happy with where you're at.
Right.
Because you can have all the money in the world and be the most miserable person in the world. Although, granted, it's better to have a lot of money and be miserable than be miserable with no money. Right? Yeah. So, but truthfully, it's funny. As you get older, you start realizing there are more important things in life. And this COVID thing, as bad as the COVID has been,
right,
I have never enjoyed being with my family more. I mean, it's just fun. I've really connected more with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have so much fun. You know, and I just think, you know, so in a way, as bad as it's been, you know, there's always a silver lining in something.
Right.
So I think it's just really, I've loved it. You know, to the point of, you know, feeling horrible for all the people that have had, you know, lost people, which is horrible.
Right.
And people have lost their jobs. I mean, that's you know, those are a lot of horrible things. But in a personal way, I think it's brought a lot of people closer together.
Right. Yeah. And there is always that trade-off. Like before we started, we were talking about, you know, kind of those sort of trade-offs where maybe you're not traveling as much, but you're saving a whole bunch of money. And maybe you're not doing a whole lot of things that you were doing before, but now that trade-off is you get to spend more time with your family, or you get to do, you know, man, people going outdoors. I don't think I've ever seen more posts of people just being out and going camping and things like that. And those are I will say those are sort of the nice trade-offs.
Yeah, go try to find a bicycle. You can't find a bicycle. You can't. Go try to find shotgun shells. You can't find it. Everyone's hiking, biking, hunting, fishing. You know, all the cool stuff that we just kind of, you know, took for granted.
You take
everybody's like, yeah.
And that is one of the things I think COVID really kind of made society slow down a little bit, and just kind of all of the things that we owe in a busy society that we live in, where you're constantly, you know, on the phone or online or working on business. It really kind of forced people to kind of take a little step back and really just slow down a little bit, which has been a good thing.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, not in all cases, but yeah, man, I mean, and so COVID environment, like how's that affected your business? Has it been positive, negative?
Oh, it's been amazing. And, you know, when come March, you know, they shut everybody down. And, you know, all of a sudden I'm sitting there looking, you know, at the computer screen at all 6 stores, and every day is 0, 0, 0, 0. I was going like, oh my God, what's going to happen, you know?
Right.
And, you know, so number one, you're worried, you know, you're worried for your business, you're worried for your family, you're worried for your employees. You know, we'd agreed, the brothers and my dad, we'd agreed that we were going to cover all our employees for at least 2 months, and then revisit it to see what happened after the 2 months. And thankfully, they came out with that PPP program, which really was.
It did. It was
an amazing.
It was a godsend.
It really was. I am not for the government for the most part, but that was a spectacular program. I think it, you know, for the people that took advantage of it, I think it really made a big difference.
Right.
But, you know, so what happens is all of a sudden nobody's traveling, nobody's going to school, nobody's having graduations, nobody's having weddings, nobody's having quinceañeras, you know. So, you know, I think, and sadly, you've got a lot of people passing away. So what happens is now all of a sudden people are saying, I want to have something special to give to that family member just in case I'm not here tomorrow, or to remember that lifestyle event.
Right.
You know, and actually it was you're the one with me that we came up where life happens.
That's right.
Because remember, I was mine was because life happens.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, no, that might be a little in you.
Right. There was a little bit.
Yeah.
There was another phrase there.
There's another phrase there.
A little too close.
Yeah. So that's our tagline, right?
Yeah.
Is where life happens. And so I think what happened was everybody said, well, my child is not having the graduation experience that I wanted them to have, so I'm gonna buy them a nice watch or a piece of jewelry to remember it. You know, my daughter's getting married, and we're
have a big wedding.
Instead of having a big wedding, right? And I'm saving all this money, so I'm gonna buy her a nice piece of jewelry to remember the event. Same thing, quinceañeras, the whole thing. You know, a lot of people were thinking maybe, you know, I wanted to buy my wife that big diamond ring or something, but I was going to wait for, you know, until we were married for 50 years. But, you know, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. So people started buying, you know, people I think kind of stopped and said, you know what, you can't take it with you, and we might as well enjoy it while we have it. And I think that is the mentality of why you're seeing a lot of the luxury businesses doing as well as they are. You know, so, you know, it's kind of like, you know, I guess it's the, the dichotomy of the fact that, it's like, yes, we want to take care of the people that, I feel bad for the restaurant people. I feel bad for the waiters and waitresses and all that, right? But then on the other end, you got the other group that are doing well. So the idea is hopefully each other can kind of work off of each other and take care of each other.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to that life, where life happens, I mean, like, what, and you talked about success and all of these things, but like, what is that? Like, what do you feel is success in life beyond the financial? What do you define it as?
It's funny because like I have teenage kids. My children are still young. They're 16, 15, and 13. And so of course everything they do is TikTok and watching whatever
right,
the Kardashians and the whole thing. So to them, it's like Ferrari, Lamborghinis, Prada, Hermes, the whole thing. And I'm in the luxury business. So for me to try to ground my children and say, you don't really need those things. It's like, well, yeah,
kind of a...
right. But you're sitting there selling all that to people. So, but and I told my kids, I said, it's more important who you are than what you have. And like I said, when you're younger, it's like, I want to travel, I want to play, I want to party. I get it. I was there. There. And not saying that I've completely grown up, because I still want to go out and do all the fun things.
Hey, you gotta stay young, man.
But,
you gotta stay young.
Yeah, don't let the old man in.
Right, that's
don't let the old man in. But then too, I think after a while you start figuring out, you can't look at what other people have, because I don't care who you are. There's always going to be somebody that has more than you have. Always, right? I don't care if you're the president of the United States, the most powerful man in the world. You know what? You still have to negotiate, right?
Right.
You never are all powerful. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
So I think if you're always trying to keep up, with your neighbors, you're going to be miserable. Right. So I think you just have to find a nice equilibrium of, what am I comfortable with? What am I happy with? What are you doing? A perfect example, I went quail hunting last week, right?
Okay.
I love to quail hunt.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait, is season still going on right now? Or is that, what was just over? Was it deer season?
Deer season.
Okay,
yeah.
Deer season just finished.
And
okay.
quail, but you go to places, I was in Georgia.
Okay,
So a friend of mine invited me on a trip to Georgia.
Oh, nice.
And I'd never been, right? Cool, right?
Super
I'm
cool.
going on a plantation hunt. Cool, right?
Awesome.
So we're sitting at dinner with all these guys and didn't know any of them. And we're sitting around talking, and they're sitting there talking about, I came in on my G4, I flew into here, I'm thinking, okay, I flew into Tallahassee, had a van, drive me over here. But, thinking, Mr. Cool Dude going on a plantation hunt in Georgia, right? And all these guys are sitting there, talking about, I just came back from Paris on a grouse hunt. And I just, from France from a grouse hunt, and Spain on a boar hunt, and I'm sitting there going like, ooh.
What do you do for a living?
Yeah, it's a whole different level, and
right.
So if you want to get intimidated, you can, right?
Right,
right.
Absolutely.
But, at the end of the trip, everyone was the same. Everyone had a great time. And, I ended up taking the van back to the Tallahassee airport, and they all drove 15 minutes and picked up their G4s and their jets and flew back to wherever they were going,
Right.
And everyone was just as happy as they could be, and it was good,
Right.
So everyone's got their, you have to realize, there's limitations to there don't have to be limitations, but you can't.
You can't define your life.
Yeah, it's just like it's like I tell my kids. I said, look, if I wanted to, I could go out and buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or this or that. I said, but that's not me.
Right.
That's not me. I'm not that type of person. I'm comfortable with the way I want to live, with the things that I want to do. If I buy something nice for myself, it's because I want to buy something nice for myself, not because I want other people to see what I have.
Right.
Not to say you can't have nice things,
right?
But do it because it's what you like, not because you're trying to show off.
Right.
And I think I've done, and I'm hoping I've done a good job with my kids, showing that to them.
Well, life is always a progression of learning, and if you don't if you're not currently learning or adapting, or you're not doing something new, then that's when you get old.
Yeah.
You get old when you stop learning something, or when you stop doing something different. And I think that,
oh my God, you with okay, we're going to do this geofencing, we're going to do this, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm going like, what are you talking about?
what are you talking about? Just trust me, Ito.
Right.
It's going to work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I get it. Not necessarily that I know how to do it,
Right.
but I get that that's the way it has to be. My kids tell me, oh, your Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going like, we have Facebook? They're like, yeah, didn't you see it? And I'm like, okay, Jerry, they didn't like this.
Right, yeah, I take that down.
Yeah, or Instagram or this or that. And I'm going like, well, okay, But I get it, and I understand. And so the great thing was when I was growing up, it was like pretty much a 10-year progression, right?
Right.
Every 10 years you had to start making changes. Then it was like every 5 years you had to make changes. Now it's like every 6 months
Absolutely.
or less. If you're not every 6 months trying to see what's the next new thing, you are a dinosaur.
Right. And it is completely just, you're constantly shifting, and you're constantly trying to refine. It's can be exhausting, man. But the longevity that you've had, there was a statistic that says, in the first year, 1 out of every 10 businesses will fail. Within 5 years, out of everybody that makes it to the 5-year mark, 1 out of 7, 1 out of 7 businesses will succeed, not fail. 1 out of 10 businesses will succeed, the other 9 will fail, and so on, right? And so as you continue going through those years, the statistics for you to continue your success, or even just to stay relevant, or even in business, is so slim. So you are your business, the business that you've been able to grow, not just maintain, but grow, is pretty amazing. I mean, that's a pretty large accomplishment, especially when you talk about everything that you guys have been through and all of the transformations that you guys have done. So you've kind of taken the reins, right, and built up this business. You started in the stock market. You still in the stock market?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love it.
How do you feel about it right now? It's exploding, right?
I still day trade every day, and I'm horrible at it, but I love it, But I do not understand Bitcoin at all. But you know what? I realize you got to be in it.
Right.
Right. I don't want to miss that train. Right. In case it happens, I don't want to miss that train. So I'm part of Bitcoin.
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, so still don't get it, but it's doing well. So hey, great. Right. Cannabis, all over that. I mean, that's good. Yeah,
it's just a matter of time before it goes nationwide, right?
Yeah, and lithium, all of a sudden it's like lithium batteries. So I'm investing in these stupid mines in South America that mine lithium. So who knows,
Right.
But that's what changes all the time, I mean, my God, stock market, I mean, who knows now,
right?
And then you get these guys that, that are sitting there telling everybody, hey, buy GameStop, buy this, buy that.
Right.
They're companies that are about to go bankrupt, but these millennials have figured out we're,
collectively grouped together.
Right. Get the group together and we're going to squash the shorts, and they figured it out. They did that with Hertz, I think.
Right.
Hertz was bankrupt. They're going out of business. They kicked it up to like $50, $60 a share, and all these guys were dying, and these guys were making a fortune. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's funny. It's just funny, These kids figure things out, and they do things, and all of a sudden, it's like, everyone's sitting around, they don't know what to do because of coronavirus, and now they're day trading again. So all of a sudden, everyone's in this, what do they say, 17 million new people are trading.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And they're changing the markets.
Right.
Which is even crazy.
Yeah, they're shifting it. And most recently, it's been in the news, and it's been on memes and all of these.
And it has nothing to do with fundamentals.
Right.
It's just, if we get enough people doing what we're doing, we're going to make it move.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so all the old guys are going like, no, this is the way you play the game.
Yeah, like I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to move millions of dollars over here.
Yeah.
So like you guys can't do that. Yeah, we definitely live in interesting times, right? I think the most shift that I think we've seen in a while has happened within the last to 18 months, and it's been crazy to see, right? It's been crazy to see what social media can do. It's been crazy to see just even how the government's, kind of working out, and all the things that are happening right now. Trump is in the middle of everything kind of passed, where they're still going to go through the impeachment trial and things like that. How much of that stuff affects your day to day? Do you see it affect your day to day or not really?
I mean, as far as the impeachment, I mean, who's to say? I mean, it'll affect us down the road, because who knows who's going to be in charge, who's going to be in power, who's going to make the new tax laws, who's going to make the new agendas. It scares me to think now that, you can find one small group of people that can shame a big group of people,
right,
just because they can shame you. And that bothers me. That bothers me. On the borders, we don't really see that whole part with the Black Lives Matter and all that type of stuff.
Right.
And I mean, I get it. I understand it, right? But, down here, so it's the same thing. So they say, Black Lives Matter. It's like, well, Hispanic lives matter too. Down here, everyone, for the most part, everyone here is Hispanic, so you don't really get it. But when you move to the other, up further north, then,
where you've got more of a multicultural society.
Yeah. Down here,
urban
everyone,
area.
I mean, everyone, for the most part, everybody here is good with everybody.
Right.
I mean, I think everybody, for the most part, likes everybody. Nobody looks at the color of skin. Nobody looks at the religion. Nobody looks at the, I mean, people got into it, Democrat, Republican, because Trump pretty much squashed that. I mean, I think that was probably the biggest prejudice down here in the Valley was, are you Republican or Democrat?
Yes, that was definitely the divide, and I even saw that with my family too, where there's a family thread, text group thread, and I've never seen my family politically divided. But that was definitely one of those things where you definitely took one side or the other. Yeah. So that is something that's been kind of big here for sure. So, all right, you've got this business. What other things are you into?
As far as business or personally?
As far as business goes, like I know that you've got this. You've got a nice little lounge that's up in your McAllen store. Is that up and running yet?
We're still working on it, so
okay.
I blame it on COVID. I blame everything on COVID. So
right, because of COVID.
We're getting there, but yeah, I mean, it's the jewelry industry, or the luxury industry as a whole, has made a total huge turnaround. So everything now, so like if you walk into my new store, everything is like its own private little boutique. Everything has its own private little sitting area. The whole ideal is when a customer comes in, you offer them a beverage, be it water, soda, champagne. I mean, right now we're not doing it because of the social distancing and pulling the mask down.
Right.
But the whole big push is, if you walk into a Rolex, a Cartier, a Bulgari boutique, you're treated a certain way.
Right.
And they want you to be treated that way, the same way, if you walk into a store in McAllen that carries that product. So that is the whole big push for it. And it's so how am I going to make you want to come buy something from me if you can just get online and buy it for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So the whole idea now is the experience. I'm going to give you an experience, right? You're going to come into my store. You're going to say, "Oh my God, this is a beautiful place." They offered me something to drink. You know what?
You had a personal sort of liaison, kind of guide you through whatever it is that you're looking for.
Sure,
right?
we have the first champagne vending machine.
I saw that. Right. That's very cool.
We have the first one down here in South Texas.
Yeah.
I don't even think San Antonio has one, but we have a beautiful.
I saw that. Very cool.
Moet champagne vending machine, and as a customer of Deutsch Deutsch, you get a little token, and you can put it in and buy the champagne. We are now offering car washes. It's a waterless car wash. So with that token, you can buy champagne, you can get a car wash. The whole idea is the experience.
Right.
And we'll have different events, different things going on. We have our lounge at Sidebar.
Yep. Yeah, which is a very cool integration.
Yeah. So,
integration of experience and people, and also kind of sticking true to that tagline of where life happens, because I've seen, a few of my friends actually take advantage of that little space. That's where you're sponsoring that space, and they have parties there, they have special events there, nice evenings, nice dinners, things like that. So that's pretty cool.
Right. So so part of it is be a VIP. You can be a VIP as a customer of Deutsch Deutsch. You become a VIP member of our lounge, and you're welcome to try to call in and make a reservation there. We have a special menu, special prices. We do have special drinks, just for people that are in the Deutsch Deutsch lounge.
Cool.
Over in it's a Deutsch Deutsch concierge lounge over at Sidebar. So the whole idea is just to make it so, if, to be part of the Deutsch Deutsch club or Deutsch Deutsch family, you get a lot of benefits to it, a lot of perks to it. So you get that experience.
Very nice.
So
Very
that's
cool.
the whole idea. We want you to, it's like, well, I could get online, wait for it to come in the mail, or I can go to Deutsch Deutsch and have this really cool experience. And that's what we're trying to do.
So, okay. So what would you say for a person who is, maybe they have their own business, or they aspire to have their own business, and they see Deutsch Deutsch and they see the success that Deutsch Deutsch has had? Because a lot of people, I would say a lot of people in the areas in which you serve are very familiar with the name. It's a very well-known name, a very credible name. What would you say to the person who is trying to aspire to build a business such as what your family's built over the years? What sort of advice would you give them in terms of how to build it, how to approach it, work ethic, all that kind of stuff?
Well, first of all, I'd say do what you love, because if you love it, then you want to wake up every day, you want to make it better, you want to make it happen, and you don't mind, you don't think of it, it's 7 days a week, every day, I'm not going on vacation, all my friends are going out and partying, and I'm having to stay home or having to stay at the office. So if you love what you're doing, it's not such a bad thing, and, so I think that's number one. And I really think that's most important, and then you have to set your priorities. When you're starting a business, that's your baby that you have, when you have a kid, that's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and you don't question it.
Right.
It
just comes with the territory.
And if you take care of your kid the way you're supposed to, pretty much they should come out okay. Not necessarily, but for the most part, right. People. So the example's not exactly right on, but
right.
But so I'm saying is, so if you take care of your baby, you take care of your business, you should do well. If you open your business and you show up an hour or two, a couple of days a week, and you're letting other people run it for you, well, eventually they're going to be running it for themselves, or they're going to run it into the ground.
Right.
So, you have to make that commitment to want to be part of that business. Look at you. You started this thing
13 years ago.
Yeah, with just you and one other person?
There was just me.
Or just you, right.
Yeah.
And you have to be there and take it, and
right.
It takes on your personality, it takes on your meaning, right? Because if your employees see you, that you don't really care about the business, and they're getting paid regardless,
right.
then they don't care about the business. But if they see that you're there, you're setting the example, then it's like they want to be part of that.
Right.
And it's the same thing with your employees, right? If they don't want to be part of it, then let them move on and bring someone in that wants to be part of your vision, part of your experience.
Right.
Got to take care of them, of course. You
Absolutely.
want to take care of them. But, like I said, if you love what you're doing, then I think everybody follows along with you. And your customers see it, and they trust you, and they know that you're there. You're always there. There's always, a face for them to come into. And, and I think it makes a big, big difference.
Have you ever been at a point to where throughout the 90 years, or even from when you started to now, where there are certain times where you were like, you know what, like, I don't want to get up today, or I don't want to deal with this? Because going through all of those transitions and change is always the hardest thing, I think, for people, right? That's the biggest thing is like, people don't want to change because they're scared of what that change could potentially bring. And you know, I don't want to say most people, but there are some people out there that say like, man, if I got to change, I don't know how it's going to do. I could actually be negatively impacted if this happens. Like how have you gone through those changes? Like what's been kind of the resilience that you feel like has gotten you through that?
Well, I just think it's just the fact that, you know, even my dad, who's like the most change adverse person in the world, when you sit there and explain it to him, you know, when we told him we're going to put computers in the store, that was like, no way. What do you mean computers in the store? You know, I mean, to that point, you know. But I think we've all, and I think there's a big enough age difference between the brothers too, where, you know, where I might not understand something, but my younger brother does. Or my brother from Houston is seeing it before we see it down here.
Right.
You know, so we're kind of getting ahead of the game, or at least seeing what's going on. And like I said, it used to be, you know, you had to make a change once every 10 years, then once every 5 years. And now if you're not making a change every 6 months, you're going to be a dinosaur.
Right. Before you know it, you're going to be way behind.
And so, like I said, I don't understand a lot of those things, right? And I'll be the first to admit it, but I understand we have to do them.
Right.
So, you know, you might sit there and tell me, oh, you need to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You know, it's like because of this, this, and this. And I know it's what we need to do. So I still might not understand it. Kind of like Bitcoin, right?
Right.
I still don't understand it.
Yeah,
but I know,
still don't know how the currency works.
You know,
exactly,
but I know I need to be part of it if I, you know, and I don't need to be part of it, but you know what I'm saying
but
is
the progression is going in that.
right. You know, so things are going that way. So
Right.
I just think, you know, you need to be so open-minded, you know, now, especially nowadays, because things change so fast.
Right.
But above and beyond everything is love what you do, customer service, customer service, customer service,
Right.
and change with the times.
Yeah.
And I think if you do that, for the most part, you know, you're going to do okay. You know, I mean, look, everyone falls on hard times. You
Right.
know? I mean, we had peso devaluations that almost took us under.
That's right.
A couple of times. You know, we had 2008 and 9 that just crushed the luxury
I remember
market.
that.
I mean, we had, you know, 3/4 of the luxury industry is about to go out of business. You know, I mean, it's just things happen, you know, and so you just work through them and you go, you know. But if you're willing to throw up the white flag,
Yeah.
you're gonna throw up the white flag, and then what are you gonna do?
And then that's it. And then you gotta start all over.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And so I guess sort of what have been kind of the things that from a life perspective, from a business perspective, love what you do, customer service, be open to change. Sure that some of that stuff translates into just overall kind of life itself, right? But I mean, what would you say is kind of what would you feel like is the sort of the secret to life or the pillars to life for you? You know, like what makes life good for you?
So, and of course, now that you're asking me, I'm going to forget them. But, you know, and I keep, this friend always asks me, and I always forget the third one. Right now, I'm forgetting the second one. But you know, for the most important thing is, I think if you leave this world a better place that you came into it, then you did good. You know, I mean, if you did 1 million things wrong, but you did 1,000,001 things right, you made a difference to somebody or to something. And so I think that's the most important thing is, you know, we're all going to make mistakes, and we're not, by no means are we perfect. And I just think, but if you try to do more better or more good than bad, then I think that's important.
Yeah.
You know? And of course, the other two things I can't remember right now. But
well, but that's the most important.
That's the most important because that's the one I always remember.
Right, right, and that's kind of the way that you kind of live your life. Because we were just talking about it before we started this whole thing. Was like, how many nonprofit organizations, you know, do you help out with? And it's like, I don't know one gala or one event that I've been to where Deutsch Deutsch is somewhere not associated with a particular event, to raise money, to do better for the community, to do those outreach things, because it's beyond kind of the profit and beyond kind of these things, is give back to your community, give back to the people who support you, right? Because the community in some way, shape, or fashion does support what you do. And so for that, you have to be grateful.
Yeah, and I that's one of my biggest things is we always, in all our stores, in all the cities we're in, I mean, we give back as much as we can.
Yeah.
Because it kills me when somebody says, oh, I went to Dallas to buy this, or I went to New York to buy this, or to LA to buy that, and I'm going like, okay, great, but you know what? What are they doing for, do they come and buy a car from you? Do they buy, some clothing from you?
Mm-hmm.
Did they come back and put something in the community to help it out? And so I'm a big believer. Everything I try to do,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not gonna. I mean, I buy on Amazon. I'm not gonna say.
Right. Yeah. Let's not.
But I mean, when my people that are my customers that have certain businesses,
right.
Even if it's going to cost me more money,
right.
I will go and buy something from them,
right.
to support them because they support me,
right.
And that's where I think supporting your local businesses is just a huge part of what you do, because all those families their kids are in school with your kids. Mm-hmm. You see them at social events. You see them at wherever
right.
And that's just it's huge. Right.
Yeah, and I agree with you, because it's like you're talking about that profit that when you go out and you spend those dollars out of market, and you're spending it with people who are out of market, then that money that they're collecting in profit is then going to circulate within whatever realm it is that they're in, which doesn't necessarily come back and indirectly affect you, because over time it does, right? And that's one of the things that I've seen with a lot of just different larger businesses and things, where a lot of those things get third partied out, and they go, and all of this money then goes out of the market. That market then receives the benefit of that income. That income then goes back into the community, and then that community then thrives, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there's been, over the last 12 months, I've seen more of a go local kind of campaign that's happened, and that's definitely a good thing to keep in mind. I think is understanding that aspect of it, and how important the local community is, and how much you've actually given back to it. I think people need to also recognize it, and I think that there's a bit of humility. You don't want to go out and tout out all the things that you're doing into the community, but those things, they do make a difference. Right. And so, anyway, well, I appreciate, you doing everything that you have done. And I mean, what a legacy it's been for Deutsch, like, to see your progression from when I met you 12 years ago, 13 years, it's been a while. And we've been on other things, right? We've done, boards, and things like that. And so, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate the friendship that we've built over the years. And, thank you for being here, man. I respect everything that you've done so far. And I know that, the next couple of decades, what's in the next 5 to 10 years for Deutsch and Deutsch, and what's in the next 5 to 10 years for Ito Deutsch?
I'll tell you at the next podcast.
There you go.
Every day's different, man.
There you go.
Every day's different.
All right. Well, maybe we can come back and visit and see kind of where you're at.
I'd love to come back.
All right, man. Well,
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. I'm sorry you're empty.
I know.
Well, we'll get you refilled.
I might not come back again.
I know, right? We're talking about service, right? Cheers, my man. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.